All right. Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Coffee and Conversation, a little different than usual. As you can see, everybody's sitting at tables. It's going to be a little bit more of a workshop than just a lecture. Today we have Barbara Zabrowski. Said it right, from Faith and Family Hospice, who is here to talk about leaving your legacy. And personally, I'm very excited about this. She brought some beautiful books, and she's going to share some ideas, ways to get you start thinking about leaving stories and history for your family. Just a reminder that Walpole Media is filming today, so folks at home can also hear about the program and call to get handouts and books if we have them left over. And if you have any questions, raise your hand, and Barbara will bring the microphone over to you so it can be heard on video. I'm going to hand it over to Barbara now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and at this very active senior center, and I'm so glad. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. My name is Barbara, and I am a chaplain with Faith and Family Hospice. We're located in Marlborough and service great areas in Massachusetts, as does every other hospice. And our concern is mostly, as Faith and Family, we're interfaith. We don't just have a focus. So we also are very involved with families. And part of the reason for this book having been created is because those who started the company just a couple of years ago or so really wanted to have an opportunity for the family to be a considered part of the services that we provide, and to leave a legacy to the family is so enriching. What I have found is that there are people who are on hospice who are on for quite a while, and that gives us a chance to work with setting down their memories. But there are a lot of people who die very quickly on hospice. They start at very close to the end of life. So this is the ideal place, and you are at the ideal time of life to be thinking about setting down your memories and working towards that, because it is a little bit of work, and which is why we bring people together in a group as opposed to just one-on-one. So today what I would like to do, two things to accomplish, is to give a little overview, not talk too much, and about leaving your legacy. And the second thing is to put you to work. Because if you don't get started today with a little bit of writing, probably the chances are less that you'll go home and do it. But if you actually get a chance to start, you may decide, well, I can do this, and you might continue. What I strongly recommend is that this is kind of like an exercise program, right? If you exercise with other people, you're more likely to show up and do the exercise. Well, if you get together with one or more other people, if you have a group of people together here at the center, you're more likely to continue and to put together your life story over time, and to have a lot of fun with it too, perhaps. As I've thought about it, I said there's more laughter and more tears when you're sharing with other people. So especially from memories. So that's a bit about what we're going to do today. Any questions? Okay. I think you'll see me putting my mask on and off. Because I feel that as I go close to people, I should be considerate and I should have the mask on. But when we're at a distance from each other, we should be all safe and sound. Okay? So the idea of leaving a legacy, of writing your life story. A friend of mine once said to me, not that long ago, she said, I'm going to write my life story. And I didn't know about this about her until she told me. She said, I'm going to write my life story because my kids think they know me and they don't. They think they know what I've done in my life, but they don't. So that was one person's goal. And then there are people in different cultures who actually, they write down their memories as the start to being able to write what's known as a legacy letter to their family. And in their legacy letter, they're able to take from their memories what was most meaningful to them in their lives, what things that they might have been really proud of or disappointed in themselves about, what they might have to ask forgiveness for from another person, or who they need to offer forgiveness to. So that's another end result to writing down your memories. But the start is writing down your memories. So we have a book here that Faith and Family has been giving out. I love the softness of the cover of this book. It just makes me want to spend time with it. And in this book, we have some prompts to being able to write down your story. So on page V for Roman numeral 5 is the table of contents. The book is divided into sections: early years, adolescence, adulthood, worldview, community, milestones, value, interests, family stories, and a big section for further reflection. I was going to say recollections. So when people approach this book, you'll know what type of personality you are as to how you approach the book, right? Because there are going to be people who start on the very first page and answer every question, and that's fine. But there's going to be people who say, oh, I don't want to start there. I need to start on page 83. Page 83 is what interests me, and that's where I'm going to start. So how you approach writing down your memories is totally up to you. And you don't necessarily need to fill out everything in the book, because what I've noticed in this book is that what's asked in one section may be asked a different way in another section. So you may be satisfied with that information that you've already written it down, and you don't need to do it again. So this is the book that we have here. Now, there are people who might prefer to have a different book, a notebook that's very special to them, or a journal. Some of you may have already started writing journals, and you can either just continue that with these ideas, or you might say, well, I'm going to use my journal in order to answer the questions, have them in this book, and pass this book on to my children, my nieces, nephews, family members, or friends, whoever you decide is the recipient of this book, of your memories. Now, why write down your memories? Well, we mentioned a couple of ideas. Also, I was reading a book recently, and the rabbi was asked, what do you fear most about dying? He mentioned a couple of things, and then the person said, but what do you fear most about dying? And he said, being forgotten. And I've heard that from have you heard that? Ever heard that? Yeah, some. Yeah, being forgotten. Writing down your memories, handing them on to another person is a way to not be forgotten, right? It's a way to, at least for a few generations, to have your legacy continue, your legacy, the gift of your life to other people. And that brings me to the second point, which is that when other people in your family particularly read your story, it gives them roots, deeper roots than what they have if they hadn't read your story. And that's a gift that you're leaving to other people. Now, you're all here today, so I'm wondering what your goals might be in writing your legacy, leaving a legacy, writing down your memories. Anybody want to offer
listen to your story?
Did you ever hear? And I had this conversation. I think it did. Did anybody hear that? Do the children really want to listen to your story? Good question, right? I was talking with my neighbor the other day, who's a little bit younger than I am, and she said what I have long thought. I wish I knew what questions to ask my grandparents. Now, pretty well, I had parents who have lived a long life, so we've gotten to know a lot about them, but my grandparents, they're gone. And, I don't know their story as completely as I would have liked, so I hope so. What do you all think? Okay. All right. They think they'll be interested.
Just make it interesting.
I think now because of Ancestry.com and 23andMe.
I'm going to give you the microphone.
I think that now because of Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all the rest of them, that they are interested because it doesn't a day go by I don't get an email from someone that's found someone. And we had the experience of finding a cousin that we didn't know we had. So that was great. But I think more important is I want my grandchildren to know, and they might not want to listen to me now because but like you say, they'll have the answers if I fill this book out. So.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else want to share a thought about writing down memories, leaving a legacy?
I've been journaling for about 40 years, so I can transfer some of it or most of it in. But I think it's also a catharsis for yourself to share, to let it go and put it down on paper so someone else knows about it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. It does help to like to write. But that brings up a good point. When you're leaving your legacy, when you're putting down memories, some people don't like to write so much, but they might have pictures. Right. You might have pictures that you want to put in the book, little label to them perhaps. You might have artwork that you want to put in, or a picture of artwork, something that was special to you. And there are some people who may not always want to be writing prose. So you might have some poetry, and it might be funny and silly, or it might be serious, or however you want it to be. It's an expression of yourself, and there are so many ways to express yourself. There's a pocket in the back of these books too, and other people might want to get, if you don't have the book, you might want to get an envelope or some, like one of those fan manila envelopes that you can put special pictures. We all have lots of pictures, but it might be some special pictures of people in your life, of events in your life that you want to include for other people to see. So there are different ways to approach this. It's all individual. It's all how you want to leave your life story. Okay, so let's see. So getting back to exercise, some people might be very comfortable. Some of you might be very comfortable just saying, I'm going to find a quiet time, a quiet space, and I'm going to approach this book on my own. Other people might say, well, I have a partial memory, but as for me, I have a brother who's 3 years older, and whenever he tells a story about something I thought I remembered or I had no clue about, I'm like, oh my goodness, that happened in our lives? Wow. So there may be somebody in your life, a family member or a friend who you want to talk about a particular circumstance or just laugh with or cry with. It's like looking at a prism, right? Looking at life through a prism. Everybody's got a different angle, and you've got, and together it makes a beautiful, beautiful set of colors. So, as I mentioned before, you might want to start a group here at the Senior Center, a writing group, and kind of help each other along. Somebody might like to tell their story and have somebody else write it down for them, and then maybe reverse so that you're not having to write as you go. One suggestion I have is don't edit until after as just freestyle. Okay, so that you find the details, go into the story, spend your time with it. Don't rush off to the next event. This is something particular that happened in your life that you want to capture. So spend some time with it. And that's what we're going to do today as you have time to work on your own stories. And some other suggestions of what can help, okay? Mentioned the journals, old letters, emails now. Sometimes there's more emails than there are letters, but family albums that you or somebody in your family might have and you want to look at. Write down every name and date that you can recall so that you can, the more you get into the details, the more of a story you'll be creating, and that'll have more of an oomph type of effect for the person who's reading it. You may need to close your eyes. Maybe that's the type of person you are, is close your eyes and put yourself into a scene to write about that. Capture all the sounds, the smells, use your senses, in other words, to capture a story as you think about it. I remember when I was a young mother and we were at church. For some reason, they were giving out carnations that day. And I took a smell of the carnation and it immediately brought me back to my first communion. I think I hadn't smelled the carnation in a long time, but I was like, whoa, and that was using a sense, and it had such an effect, a pleasant effect. There may be times when you're just hanging out or walking around and you have a memory and you're like, oh, I wish I had something to write that on. So you might want to keep a little notebook handy or a pen handy or talk into your phone if you have something to record. But there's, some people you might want to keep a little notebook handy. Words and expressions that might have special meaning, such as Hanukkah, Christmas. We're in Rosh Hashanah right now. Our friends are celebrating. Diwali, Festival of Lights, powwow, marriage, birth. Those are words that might stimulate your memories. And keep at it over time. It's not going to, well, for most people, I don't know. I would assume that you're going to need to take time to go through this and to write down your memories. You've lived good, long lives, and we're proud of it, So keep at it. There's a lot of story to tell. And you're probably making new memories along the way, so don't let that discourage you, but you might have more to write as time goes on just from the experience of writing your story. All right, so are you ready to start? Okay, all right. Okay, we're going to start quietly. I think a good way to start is to, for those of you who are comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes. Just kind of settle in for a moment. A couple of deep breaths, breathing in and releasing it. Release your breath. Breathe in again, deep, and release your breath. Consider the people in your life. Ancestors, people currently in your life, the next generation, those in future generations. Let your imagination go. Who have you known? Grandparents, aunts, uncles, parents, just for example. And then who is likely to receive your story, your life story? Take a moment to greet that person or those people. And you might want to, as you think of all these people in your life or in your people to come, ask some or all of them to assist you in your writing, in your reminiscence. Now you might want to think of a topic that you would like to start to write on, and there's scrap paper on each table and a pen, so you don't have to write directly into the book if you are concerned about making a mistake, or maybe that wasn't the thing that you wanted to really start with. But choose a topic and let your mind just float over the topic that you've chosen for the focus of this workshop. Enter into it deeply and look at that with fresh eyes. Explore the event, the place, and sit with it. Let it speak to you. Open your heart and mind to listen to where the event is occurring, who is in the event, and what is happening and how it's affecting you. What do you notice? Anything new? Something that had not already come to your attention in the past when you thought about this event? Any actions, body language, emotions, interpretations, or relationships? And if you believe in God or a sacred other, is there anything being said to you? And what does your best loving self tell you about this event, this place? When you're ready, I invite you to begin to write. As I said, you can write either on the scrap paper or write into the book. And I'll take about 15 minutes. Give you plenty of time, okay? So I invite you to come back into the present. And would anyone like to share what the experience was like of writing, of thinking of your memories, of writing? Yeah.
I kind of felt like I unlocked a few things that I hadn't thought about in a long time, and not that that's not a good thing, you know, but it just makes you deal with a lot of things that maybe you put aside, you know. And, you know, I want my kids to know what I'm about. So I think this is part of it.
It's very powerful. Very powerful exercise. Did you want to share?
I wrote about something. Well, I could have written about something negative. It would have been easy, but you know, I decided to do something upbeat. So I did an event that I do.
Take your mask.
Oh, sorry. I wrote about something a fun thing that we do every year with another couple and their daughters, and it's at Christmas time, and it's just a really fun probably one of the best things I do all year. But I could have written about something more negative, but I just thought I'll just write about that. It's easier, and there's a lot of different things that go along with it, you know. And it's for the Special Olympics, and it's just a really fun thing. I don't know if most people know about it, but it's every year. It's called the Jolly Jaunt, and it's the first weekend, Saturday in December in Boston, on the Commons. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, starting with a fun memory and rather than a hard memory. Sometimes that's an easier way to delve into the deep, is to start there. I had a woman I was working with who, when we started working with the book, she could not remember anything earlier than from when she was 9 years old. I asked her, what's your earliest memory? It was actually her mother died at that time. But for months, she had no earlier memory. And then slowly she started going back and going back and going back. And she was able to go back to when she was very young. It was not a pleasant time of her life. Yeah. But she was able to talk about it, and she was able to, and so I wrote it down. And also this particular woman, she didn't finish the whole book. We'd go meet each week, and she filled out, some of it, and I would write it down as she spoke. And one day she said, "Well, we're done." She had told me all she wanted to tell me that she wanted in the book, and that was good enough for her. And that's really, you decide what this is going to be, what you're going to write down, how long it's going to be, what it's going to be about, and when you're done. So anyone else want to talk about? Okay.
I just have a question about how specific should you be in terms of date, time, and place. Like what I did was my educational. I started there because I enjoyed that period of my life when I was going to school and continuing on school. And, that's, my fondest memories. And as this woman spoke, I did something positive rather than, trying to avoid the negative. So I just wonder, is it important that you put time, date, and place?
I think that's up to you. I think dates are helpful because they give the person a perspective on what was going on in history at that point. So if you started school in 1945, it was the end of World War II, and that's a significant time in the history of our country as well as what was going on in society. If you hated getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning because you had to get to school by 7:30, you might want to write that down. So as far as specifics go, the more that you can put in, the fuller an account that it is. But it's, don't stop writing just because you don't remember exactly the day and moment or the time that you were having a particular event. That's my suggestion. Okay. Anyone else? There you go.
I just want to say something to Linda, because I've known Linda for eons, and I don't think it's important that you clarify your feelings 100%. I think our feelings are us. They are who we are and what made us what we are, and they're there, and they're not going to change. So when you want to share that, I think that's good, and I think it's good, me personally, for my children to know what it was like for me, growing up and having a lot of responsibility and not always, everything wasn't always happy, and I think that's okay. I'm sure if they were honest about me Joe and I bringing them up, they weren't always happy either. I mean, it's part of life. But I think it's all right. Your feelings are who you are. They don't have to be right or wrong.
Yeah, you make a very good point, and I thank you. So I have my father's youngest sister, who is, I don't know, 88, I think, at this point. And she has always been so chipper. Upbeat, everything's great, isn't it wonderful? It's fantastic. And my father died about 6 years ago, and since then, I've been talking with his sister almost on a weekly basis, which has been great. But now I'm starting to hear her story, her life story. It wasn't always so upbeat and fantastic, and there was a lot of childhood. It was the Depression. It was not a fun time for a lot of people. So she's sharing, and I'm beginning to develop a better appreciation for who she is, where she's coming from, and why now, and for many years as an adult, she has put that positive face forward for the family, for people who weren't involved in her everyday existence. So yeah, it's what you want to share of your feelings, how is totally up to you. This is your life story. It's what you want to communicate. And you can enrich, I guess is what I'm saying, is that you can enrich the life of the reader with more detail, more expression. But only if you want to. Okay. Anyone else?
I remember two things. I go back as far as 3 years old when I was told that I was going to my aunt's house and ended up at Milford Hospital having a tonsillectomy. And that's when I found out I was especially feisty because I bit a nurse, bit at the doctor, and they had to bring me home at night so I wouldn't bleed. That was number one. But the other fun thing was my mom was from Philadelphia, and every year, starting around 5, I guess, with a cousin, my father would put us on the train with a name tag and 30th Street Station, and we had a little box lunch, and the conductors took care of us those were the great days. And I mean, those were fun days, actually. Yeah.
Very good. I've heard about things like that, but it was nice to meet somebody who actually experienced that. Yes, I've heard about that. So and today.
It would be child abuse if you
Right. Exactly. Anyone else? Okay. Did you enjoy any of this experience?
Yes.
Okay. Were you challenged by it?
Yes.
Okay. Did you not like it? Was there something about it that was not appealing? It's okay if it wasn't. It's challenging, though. It can be challenging. So, yeah. And where would you like to go with this, with your writing, with your life story, with leaving a legacy for your family?
My sister used to come over the house with her daughters, and my sister would talk about when we were kids. So therefore, my kids think they know everything about me, but they don't. And when I say something, they'll say, "Oh, Ma, we don't want to hear it."
Oh, that's your question earlier. Okay. Well, I think they'll be sorry if they don't get your story. But if you want to leave it, you leave it, because gosh darn it, it's your life. Okay? Yeah.
I also think it's important for you to leave it because it will help you, get everything in line. And your kids will read it. And if they don't like it, that's their problem. And you won't know about it anyway. So really, I think it's important for you to do it and to leave it and to say it. And it's their problem how they take it. And you know what I mean? And I'm saying that in a nice way. I don't mean, but I just think it's important. I think it's your story. It's not theirs. So don't worry about that.
Every night, and I told you, I've been doing it for about 40 years. About 40 years. And I like to write, that's number one, but it seems to clear my mind the way I thought today or yesterday, and it makes you try each day to be better or look back at it and say that wasn't so great, but you know what I'm saying? But I've been writing, and I've got 2 books at home, 2 things full, and it's good. I learned that a long time ago. It's a release. My husband was Navy, and when he went, we'd all be angry because they were gone for 9 months or whatever, and we had to go to classes, cultural relation classes and all this, and they said, write everything down, all the feelings you want, write it on paper. The next morning, rip it up.
Okay.
And that's it, you feel better.
Okay. Yeah. That catharsis that you were talking about before. Yeah. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? I appreciate all the sharing that we've had. It's wonderful. Thank you. So the question that arises from this presentation is, where do we go next with this? Okay, Debbie's not here. Last time I was giving this presentation, there was a woman in the room who said, I'm going to take this in hand, and invited people to sign up, and she's going to lead the group to gather every Tuesday, is their time at 2:00, to share time together and to continue to write their memories down, because somebody said, all right, so when am I supposed to do this? Next week we have the fair, and the week after that we have this other thing, and every day I go swimming. So it can be really a challenge to find the time to write and to communicate with other people, and it's easy for to just to put the book down and never go back to it. So any thoughts about what you might like to do to keep writing?
I think that we actually had something here before COVID that went along those lines. I'm not specifically saying that this is what we, wrote about, but Debbie would know more. Did we have a writing group?
I think so.
Yeah.
Creative writing,
Yeah.
poetry.
Oh, okay.
But we're open to anything.
Yeah.
Are you looking for like every week or maybe once a month? Because schedules and whatever, I'm not sure.
So why did you ask Debbie?
Okay, Debbie. Would that be once a month or once a week or?
I think it really depends. What seems to work best for these, small interest groups is if somebody kind of takes the lead, and if we had somebody who was interested in it and kind of set the tone. If it's once a month, if it's twice a month, whatever it is, we could probably find a meeting space for you. But, if there's a group of people interested and somebody willing to take the lead on it, then we can, help facilitate it. I think, and you could tell me, Barbara, something like this, probably a little bit regular. it works best. Yeah.
Even weekly, to get started. I think, to my opinion, and it doesn't have to stick here, but because you may have different opinions, but would be to at least start on a weekly basis. Then the holidays are going to come, and you'll all say, I don't have time for this, and then resume in January. But if you start on a weekly basis, I think you're more likely to get it going and really have it ingrained in your system that this is a project that you're working on. That's what I think. So I think what Debbie's saying is that she needs somebody to step up and just do a little bit of coordination for those who would like to meet together on a weekly basis. And it can be very informal. It doesn't, you don't have to, you could just sit at a little table in different groups, or two people coming together to talk with each other and spend some time writing memories. So it's really up to you what you want this to be and how you think would be best to continue. You're here today because you have this interest, and it'd be delightful to continue it. So when would you like to meet next week?
Thursdays are good for me. Anybody else? Afternoon?
You all manage Thursday afternoon? This is Thursday. Yeah.
It was.
Some people, this is a good sized group. There may be people who, Monday or Tuesday or another day of the week is better, but maybe there's a group that wants to start on Thursday at 1:00 in the afternoon and try that out for a little while. But there might be that there are those of you who another day of the week in the morning. I'm not sure. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for having me, and it's such a delight to be with all of you today. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And if anyone, if you do come up and say, there's a few of you that want to get together and you just need space, let us know. We'll get it going for you. Okay?